Oh. Cannabis. It's good, isn't it? Hello. Welcome back, Bobby. Fucking Malcolm Turnbull, yeah, prick. Jeez, didn't we get shonked on that one? We're back. Indeed we are. Can't keep me down. Well, handcuffs, rope, leather straps, but only in a consensual situation. Licorice joint. Crazy man, crazy. So there I was, just walking down the street, singing "Do What Did He Do?" Yes. So I don't know how many of you saw the show on Wednesday night. Yes, it happened. It's getting there. Slowly working on a new format. Got sort of like messed up with venue and switching venues and stuff on Wednesday, but it was still good. Still got some good stuff in there. It'll be edited soon. And guess what? We're going to be live again on Wednesday night. Hey Shane, how you doing, brother? We're going to be live this Wednesday from the Helium Arcade again. And then the following Wednesday, back at the Printers Room with the big lineup. So it's all happening. Yes, yes. It's cool, it's fresh, it's amazing. And it's all going to be awesome. It'll be streaming here through Ancient J. Yes. Also, as we move forwards, it'll be coming out through our Patreon, my Patreon account. When it's sort of ready to go and everyone's all good. Hey David, how are you? Christopher, hello. And then people can pay money for the privilege of hanging out in Patreon Central, like $5 a month. Get you access to all of the episodes and all of the extras. Oh yes, there's extras. Oh yes indeed, we're making extras right now. Got some beautiful footage of the picnics, and I've got some amazing guitarists, so can you imagine what's happening there? Visuals, beautiful, hidden content, yes, amazing stuff, all going to be available on the Patreon. And dig this, ancientj.com.au is coming soon. It exists, it's bought, it's paid for, it's hosted, it's just being designed. I am well indeed, thank you Christopher. Well, you know, I'm doing my thing, talking cannabis, smoking cannabis, living cannabis. It's great. People say, what do you do? And I say, I smoke a lot of cannabis. And I talk about cannabis quite a lot too. You might say I'm all about the cannabis. But there's other things, really, when you think about it. Because it's not really about the cannabis, is it? It's about the prevailing laws and the impact of those laws on individuals. That's right. The harm that is happening because of prohibition. I don't care who gets access to cannabis. I really don't. At the end of the day, it's a pretty damn safe plant. I don't really want kids smoking it, got to admit. I started quite young, and because I've got ancient, I've realised how long life is. And there seems to be plenty of time to enjoy cannabis after you're 18. You don't have to go rushing into it early, because if you do, you miss out on all that cool kid stuff that you can't do when you're older without getting arrested. You know? Like being a tomfoolery and all that sort of stuff. You can do all that kind of thing, you know, like toilet papering houses and things, all that kind of cool kid stuff. Probably don't do any of that kind of stuff anymore, but you should instead of smoking cannabis. Cannabis is going to be there forever. It's been there throughout my life. This is one of these things about prohibition. Doesn't work. I've been able to buy cannabis for 37 years. Yes, since I was in my early teens. I've been buying cannabis. You know why? Freely available. I'm not saying it's at the corner shop, but usually if you go 2 doors down, there's somebody there selling cannabis. Every street, well, most streets, quite a lot of streets. Well, some streets have got a cannabis supplier and cannabis being grown, as you've seen on the TV as of late. But it's not hardly surprising, is it, when you think about the fact that there's over 2 million people that smoke cannabis every single day. That's right, every single day. That's tons and tons and tons and tons of cannabis have to be produced to meet the market's needs every day. Massive, huge. $13 billion a year plus in sales. Quite a lot of scratch, if you ask me. And that's, you know, cash. None of this bank transfers, credit cards, PayPal. Occasionally a little bit of Bitcoin, maybe. But it's a cash currency business. $13 billion hard currency changing hands because of cannabis. Now, obviously, we're in Australia, and anything that turns over that kind of money is seen as a big corporation and doesn't pay tax anyway. So there's no real difference between illegal cannabis and legal cannabis because it probably won't pay tax when it is legal. However, safety in the workplace. Think of all of the people that have to work, and they have to. Like, it's an industry that's turning over $13 billion a year and satisfying the needs of over 2 million smokers every day. So there's a lot of people working in this industry in unsafe working conditions. They're not getting award wages. They're not getting holidays. They're not getting sick pay. They're not getting any of the things that you should get if you're a worker in Australia. Think of the downside. You screw up, they take you out and put you in a shallow grave somewhere, or take you for a boat trip that you never returned from. That's what prohibition does. Prohibition is killing people, because prohibition creates the situation that the illicit industry thrives in. And it does thrive. Believe you me, it's thriving all the time. Look at this. All of this hair. I need a haircut. If there's anyone out there with hairdressing skills that wants to sponsor my head, feel free. I know I wear a hat most of the time, so you're not really going to get much value for your sponsor. Well, of course you are. You'll get coverage. You go, I've got very good looking hair under this hat. All thanks to... could be you. That's right. Got the sun overhead, so it's like casting shadows. Do this. No. Yes. I mean, it's hard. Like, some people out there trying to work out who I am, what I'm about. And I wish them luck, because I've been trying to work that out my entire life. You know. I've been around for a long time. I try and work with as many people as possible. Sometimes visually, sometimes behind the scenes, depending on what's appropriate for the situation. I have a very varied skill set. Worked in and out of different organisations for over 3 decades. Been around the cannabis industry for nearly 4. Spent the last 2 researching and working towards legalisation. It's what I do, it's who I am. This isn't just about having the right to smoke. I mean, that's a big part of that. Like, yeah, basic human rights in there for sure. You know, we're adults, we should have the right to make these decisions for ourselves, but it's about an overbearing government that, despite the truth of the harm that prohibition is causing, it has maintained it for decades after that truth has been made apparent to them. Like, there's no denying that they are in possession of all the facts in relation to prohibition and the harms that it actually entails. I've got paperwork myself from a government white paper in 2001 that clearly outlines the risks that prohibition causes. Hey Chad, how are you, brother? So these politicians, while they're standing up there making promises, they're doing so fully aware that every moment that they sort of hold off, every moment that they manipulate and avoid the situation, more and more suffering is occurring. More and more young Australians. I keep saying young Australians because it's very much centred around young Australians. From the arrests every year, like last year, I think it was close to 90,000 arrests, 85% of which were for small use offences from people aged 17 to 28. Okay, so their lives are now irreparably harmed because stamped into their record is a drug offence. That inhibits them travelling to a number of countries. It inhibits them getting jobs in certain industries. That's them, done. Why? Because they partook of a harmless plant with some friends. 250,000 people that suffer with epilepsy in Australia, 6.9 globally, but just here in Australia, 250,000 young Australians. And I say young Australians once again because you don't get to live to a ripe old age with epilepsy. 80-odd% of them are killed from an epilepsy-related condition or situation. That's not even including the ones that die from SUDEP, that's sudden unexpected death from epilepsy. All of these conditions can be safely treated, effectively treated with cannabis-based remedies. Natural, harmless, effective. 250,000 young Australians that are suffering every hour of every day while this law is in play. Isn't it time we stopped something that doesn't do what it's supposed to do but causes untold amounts of damage to our communities? Hate is very much so. We talked about that before, Chad. Like, in our country, we've got some political identities, some micro parties that have evolved over the last few years, like Pauline Hanson and Darren Hinch and so forth. And they're all based around manipulating people's hatred towards sectors of our society. You know, or it's the African immigrants, or it's the Muslims, or it's the this, or it's the that. Society's gone to shit, mostly because we have no leadership, no true leadership, because the leadership that we have is basically a corporate department overseeing the asset stripping of our nation, right? Leadership means having direction, means having goals, means wanting to take your country, my country, to a better place for the people that live within it. So we've got these individuals that are rising up, and they're gaining power, and that's the scary thing. They're gaining power based on the hatred of these individuals within our community, rather than gathering the community together as a whole and making them see the potential if we work together towards a better future. You know? Hey Chris, how are you, Chief? Look, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of any religious organisation. I have such a low opinion of everything from the Catholic Church to to Islam. As far as me, they're all the same. They're a social control mechanism, and you've only got to look at the very recent and very scary to look at institutionalised, like the Royal Commission into institutional responses to child abuse, to see that when religion plays a part in the running of the show, harms, damage to the vulnerable, our most vulnerable, our children, is rampant. So I don't see the point of ever allowing any religion to gain any kind of traction as far as running the show, setting guidelines or social expectations. We are a secular society, a society built upon respect for each other and a desire to create a better world for ourselves and those to come. And I think if you can get on board with that and work together towards building that kind of future, away from these little, religious doctrines or social sort of doctrines, cultural doctrines. There's nothing wrong with having your own culture and your own beliefs. I think everyone has the right to that. But I think that trying to inflict those beliefs on others, that's offensive. I'm just... But as I said, it's like, for me, I crack at Catholics just as much. Like, I have just as much fear of a Christian-based sort of system than I do of an Islamic one or a bloody Hindi one. Caste system, for instance. I mean, that in itself is fucking horrid. That's been going on for thousands of years. So, I mean, like, religion creates partition. You know? Even within itself, there's always those that are more holy than others. You know? Whether it's Christian or, once again, Islam, all broken into little subsects of belief. You know? Do the right thing by the people around you. Always stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves. And try and leave the world a little bit of a better place than it was when you got here. A couple of basic rules for life, you know? We've lost what life is all about. Everyone's, you know, they're trying to buy a house. What's the use of buying a house? You're going to die. And when you're dead, your family are going to sell that house and share the profits after the government take theirs. You go rushing through life, paying debts without appreciating the moments that make up life. Running from point A to point B and never seeing that there's a whole alphabet in between of experiences that you don't get to entertain or enjoy or partake. Life is fleeting. You know? So in Africa, there's a butterfly migration. So they travel 2,000 miles or something. They die. That's pretty much their lifespan. But think of the distance they cover and the sights and the experiences as they're doing that journey. But that's it. If they don't appreciate the journey and if they focus too much on just the destination, their life is wasted. Because all they do is they get to their destination and it's death. That's what life is. Human life, all life. The destination is death. It's unavoidable. Science has proven no matter how much you diet, no matter how much you look carefully about what you're eating and how much exercise you have, you will die at the end of your life. Hey, you wreck your back. You know, so don't be in such a rush to get to the end. Appreciate all of the moments, you know. You get that first breath and then you have a last breath. And all of the ones in between, they're precious, they're important. You can't replace them, you can't renew them, you can't get a do-over. So appreciate when you're taking it. Look around. Look at the flowers. Look at the Christmas trees. Look at the people. Look to see if you can help in a small way in somebody else's life. Whether it's opening a door, carrying a bag, just giving someone a smile that brightens their day as they move forwards. A random compliment. Not creepy and thirsty, but just, you know, nice. Life is too short, which is why it's important to appreciate all of it. It can be taken from you in an instant. Don't get to the end going, I wish I'd done this or I wish I'd done that. Get to the end going, oh, what a ride. You know? Can't wait to see what happens next. Greet the next challenge with just as much zest as you've greeted life. Embrace it. Because you don't know what comes next. You really don't. We have no idea. But what we do know is that the here and the now can be beautiful. The here and the now, look at the sky. There's no chemtrails up there. Beautiful. Green grass. Traffic's a bit of a buzzkill, but, you know, people getting where they want to go. That's important. As long as they're appreciating the journey. Because the destination, the ultimate one, it's an unknown. Hey Tony, how are you, brother? Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Magnuson, one of Melbourne's greatest comic talents, is in the room. Say hi and make sure you get to his show. think they'll be running at the Highlander Bar in Melbourne at the moment, possibly. I'm sure if Tony wants to put up a thing there to his upcoming gigs, we could probably pin it for him. I say we, I'm on my own today. No cameraman, I just come wandering in. I haven't even got a tripod or anything, I'm just like sitting here on the grass. You know, trying to just appreciate the moments that make up life. And smoke weed, which is part of the appreciation, I guess. But I need you people to be talking to people around you, educating them. Don't be afraid of them going, oh, cannabis, because that's wrong. You see, the facts now, they're out there. The conversation and the discussion is happening. Get involved in the discussion. Engage, participate. Help us push it along. It won't be long until people go, ooh, I've been curious about that. Tell me more. I get that all the time. Don't be afraid, you'll be surprised. Who wants to know? Our event at the town hall the other month with Johan Hari had over 600 people, mainstream people, lawyers, barristers, judges, corporation sort of people, general people off the street. Not the cannabis community, they didn't go along to it. I mean, probably a couple did. I was there, obviously. But it was your mums and your dads, your grandmas and your grandpas, your uncles and your aunts. It was people that are curious as to what's going on about cannabis in the world. And it is your job to help to educate them, to provide them with directions towards the real facts. Like, you know, when they give you, oh, is there any research and things like that? Just pass them, give them the link to PubMed. Everyone knows PubMed, www.pubmed.com. PubMed. Now that is a direct link to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of research pieces, studies about cannabis and everything else. All they've got to do is go into the search bar and go, cannabis, cancer. Cannabis, epilepsy. Cannabis, ADHD. Just a little Boolean search and it'll go and throw information all over the place. It will vomit facts. And then you can pick and choose which ones you want to send on there. Go endocannabinoid system and it'll tell you how it works. There's all these lovely pieces of information there. Point the people towards the information written by people that know what they're talking about. Okay, so there you go. Tuesdays at 8 p.m. at the Highlander Bar in the city. Highlander. There can be only one. The head with no name. I know his name. There you go. That was one of my favourite movies back in the day. God damn it. It's awesome. So, Highlander Bar, 8 p.m. on Tuesday nights. But don't forget, that's right, the Comedy Festival, the International Comedy Festival, the thing that makes Melbourne is coming to town starting in March. Yeah. I mean, other things make Melbourne too. But Melbourne's International Comedy Festival, that's a big part about being Melbourne. One of my favourite times of the year, because it comes up on my birthday, and I do like a bit of comedy as I'm getting older. Laughing as I get closer to the end. The dark, the void. The sleep of all sleeps. I'm quite looking forward to a sleep, but I'm not in a rush to get there. You know why? There's so much more to do, to discover, to explore, to experience. That's what life is. Opportunities, right? So how about we work together to make the world a more pleasant place to live and allow more people to explore those opportunities? You know, let's get things a little bit more ground-based, you know? Like, why the hell are houses so expensive now? It's a home, you know what I mean? A roof and 4 walls. Well, obviously, more walls than that inside. But they've become a commodity, another aspect of this financial friggin' thing that we're living in, which make it unaffordable for most, and even more ridiculous, a debt trap for those that can. Because you basically just get stuck into paying off that thing for the next 40 years of your life. Can you imagine being anchored to one spot for 40 fucking years? The world's moving on. Everything is flowing. Even the sun travels the way across the sky, and you're still stuck there 40 years later. No thanks. By the time you've paid for it, it's broken. What's the point of that? If you were to take all of the materials that go into the building of a house still only costs about $45,000 to build. Why are they selling them starting at like, $280, $320, $450? It's a joke. It's a scary joke. It's not one that you laugh at. It's one of those jokes that you go, ha, ha, oh. So, rationalisation, because at the moment, all our system does is makes the rich richer. The whole, it's like, they used to do this thing, they used to call it the trickle-down effect, right? Where they'd put tax breaks and money at the top end of town, and then it would trickle down all the way through society, right? Except it doesn't. It defies gravity, and not only does it stay where the fuck it is, it seems to magnetically attract everything from below it, so it all fucking trickles up. That's a joke. Once again, it's real. Not a joke as in not real, because it's very real. It's a joke as in that can't be fucking serious. How the fuck can we have allowed the world to evolve to that? Where the 2% own everything and the 98% go, what? Where'd the money go? And then right down at the bottom, people are dying, sleeping in the cold on the street. Children are going to school hungry. Old people are having to go to bed at 4 p.m. when it gets a bit nippy because they can't afford to both heat their home and eat every day. That's the kind of world we've allowed to exist. That's the kind of world we've let the Liberal and the Labor Party create. Because they're the ones that have done that. They have destroyed the quality of life of Australians. They get fat while people die. They laugh while parents are crying. They gain while we lose. I think it's enough. I think you're all smart enough to realise it's enough. Surely some of you are strong enough to stand up, to represent your community, to take on the challenge of making this country a better place. $5 million will give us the registration fees for 13 candidates in every federal, House of Representatives and Senate seat in this country. And because the two elections don't happen all at once, we don't even need to have it all in one hit. 13 people in every electorate. We suck up all the preferences. Liberal and Labor are gone overnight. And those 13 people, they all go. Not just the one that wins the actual representative role, but the other 12 and become part of the civil service. We clean out these electric offices. We clean out these departments. We take away this stagnation and we put people in place that have got Australians' best interests at heart. It won't happen overnight, but we can get this country back on track. First step is getting Labor and Liberal out of the picture. Second step, declaring Labor and Liberal criminal organisations. Third step, seizing all the funds and the assets that Liberal and Labor have stolen from the public coffers over generations. We can do it. Why don't we? I'm game. How about you? Anyway, sitting here, waiting for somebody. Something to do. I think that'll do for now. That's like 3 videos. I want to thank you all for joining me today with my little scattered thoughts. Please, if you, if you're working, if you've got a regular income and you want to help me get more stuff happening around the country, go to the Patreon account. You know, $5 a week, $5 a month even, you know, $10 a month, whatever you can afford. Stick it in there. It's a direct debit thing, really, really easy and simple. And that'll just help us get some cash to get, you know, venues, transport, travel, all the sorts of things that are necessary in order to be in different places all the time. Get engaged. Help us win the fight, I guess. You know, if you can't be out and about with us, if you can't be doing what we do, if you can't be shouting from the treetops, then, you know, help us from the background. Help us build a foundation of strength, of unity. Help us show that we're not just individuals, that we're representative of our community. Give me the opportunity to be loud enough for people to hear me. I'll do my best, as I always do. Anyway, call me ancient, call me Jay. Don't call me late for dinner though, because the munchies is real and it's an important part of the healing process. We've talked about that before.